Most people assume that people who keep their homes clean are just more disciplined, that they have stronger willpower, better habits, more control over their lives. But what if that's not actually true? What if keeping a clean space has very little to do with discipline, and a lot more to do with how your brain has adapted over time? If you've ever looked around your space and felt a quiet kind of overwhelm, telling yourself you'll deal with it later, but never quite getting there, this might feel more familiar than you expect. You're not lazy, and you're not failing. There's a deeper pattern behind this. So if this resonates with you, you can leave a like or subscribe. Only if you feel like this kind of content speaks to you. Now let's take a closer look at what's really happening beneath the surface. 1. The subtle discomfort when things are out of place. There's a certain kind of feeling that doesn't announce itself loudly. It doesn't overwhelm you. It doesn't demand attention. But it's there. You walk into a room and something feels slightly off. Not messy in an obvious way. Not chaotic. Just not quite right. Maybe a chair is slightly out of place. Maybe there are a few items sitting where they don't belong. Nothing major. But your attention lingers. It doesn't move on as easily as it seems to for other people. And even if you try to ignore it, a part of your mind stays there, quietly aware. And your mind doesn't like open loops. There's a psychological tendency where unfinished actions remain active in the brain. They don't disappear when you walk away from them. They remain, quietly present. So when you take care of something immediately, you're not being strict. You're reducing the number of unresolved signals your brain has to carry. What looks like a simple behavior is actually a form of internal organization. 3. The mental clarity that comes from a clean space. There's a noticeable shift that happens when your environment is clean. It's not dramatic, but it's clear. Your thoughts feel more focused. Your body feels less tense. Your attention feels less scattered. And when the space becomes cluttered, that clarity fades. Slowly, subtly. Many people would describe this as preference. But it's not just about what you like. It's about how your brain processes information. Your environment is never neutral to your mind. Every object, every visual detail is being processed whether you notice it or not. This contributes to something called cognitive load. The more your brain has to process, the harder it has to work. So when your space is simplified, your brain doesn't have to filter as much. The result is a kind of quiet clarity, not because anything external changed dramatically, but because your mind has less to manage. 4. The quiet sense of relief after restoring order. There's a specific moment that comes after you've cleaned something. It's not excitement. It's not pride in a loud sense. It's quieter than that. A subtle shift. Something settles. To others, cleaning can feel like effort, like something that takes energy. But for you, it often feels like something has been resolved. Something that was slightly out of place has returned to alignment. This connects to how your brain processes completion. In a world where many outcomes are uncertain, your environment offers something different. A direct loop. You take action, and the result is immediate, visible, clear. That loop reinforces something important, a sense of stability, not in a dramatic way, but in a steady, almost invisible one. And your nervous system responds to that. It relaxes, because something that was open is now complete. 5. The awareness that continues in the background. Even when you try not to focus on it, you still notice. You sit down. You shift your attention somewhere else. But part of your awareness stays connected to what hasn't been resolved. A surface, a corner, an object slightly out of place. It's not overwhelming, but it doesn't disappear either. This is often misunderstood as overthinking, or as an inability to let things go. But what's actually happening is a difference in how your brain filters information. Most people unconsciously filter out background details. Their attention moves on quickly. Your brain doesn't filter as aggressively. It continues to register what's there, holding on to it, just a little longer. This creates a different experience. You notice more, but you also remain aware longer, not because you're choosing to, but because your attention system stays active. 6. The connection between your space and your internal state. For you, your environment doesn't feel separate from you. It feels connected. When your space is cluttered, something internally feels unsettled. Not dramatically, but noticeably. And when your space is clean, something inside feels aligned. This connection can feel subtle, but consistent. Your brain doesn't treat your surroundings as neutral. It interprets them. It assigns meaning to them. External disorder becomes a signal of internal noise. External order becomes a signal of stability. This doesn't mean you're dependent on your environment. It means your brain processes context deeply. It integrates what's outside with what's inside. And that creates a stronger link between space and state. 7. The shift from effort to automatic behavior. From the outside, this can look like effort, like you're constantly maintaining things. But internally, it doesn't feel that way. It feels normal, like something that happens without much thought. And that's because, over time, these behaviors become automated. Repeated actions reshape neural pathways. What once required effort becomes a pattern, and patterns become default behavior. So instead of deciding whether to clean, your brain simply follows what it already knows. There's no internal resistance, no negotiation, just continuation. What others perceive as discipline is often something else entirely: alignment between how your brain is wired and how your environment is maintained. At some point, it becomes less about the space and more about what the space reflects. Because the way you maintain your environment is rarely just about the environment itself. It's about how your mind organizes the world, how it responds to unfinished things, how it looks for clarity, even in small details. What others might see as discipline, or even unnecessary effort, is often something much quieter. A mind that prefers resolution over accumulation. A system that feels more at ease when things are complete. And over time, that pattern becomes invisible. Not something you think about, not something you force, just something that happens naturally. So this isn't really about being clean or not clean. It's about the way your brain interacts with your surroundings, the way it processes signals, the way it restores balance. And once you start to see it that way, it changes the question. It's no longer, why am I like this? But rather, what is this pattern trying to do for me?